are celebrating Haname. Haname is the Japanese flower viewing festival. So the dogwoods are in bloom, the food's on the table, and the sake is warm. Today we're going to look at Dando. When we talk about weapons, it's a whole different world to appreciate and understand. So sit back and get the basics of the two Dando forms that we do at Norristown. This is the Dando. This is the American version of the Dando, totally different from the Asian version. What we have here is almost a straight line blade with a strong tip at the end. The traditional Dando, which is the Asian one, looks more like this, but it's going to be longer and have a bigger curve. So the cutting ability of the traditional Asian is better cutting than the American style. This has a better thrusting where the traditional Dando doesn't have as good as the thrusting because it doesn't have the strength. Traditionally, when you see the Dando forms, you'll see the large motions of cutting. That is because it is longer and curved. If you are using the American blade, the American Dando, you need to do a flicking motion to get this edge to do its work. So it would be shorter cuts, but it would be using the flicking of the wrist to get this part of the blade up to do the proper cutting. Downward strike is going to be in this area, not the skull, here. When I come across, the blade's going to go across the eyes, the throat. Make sure your blade is straight, not on an angle, straight. The X is a flick, 1, 2. I'll explain that later. When I come in with the side strike, it should be into the solar plex, depending where your opponent is. It may also come in depending where they're standing here. But we want to make sure we're not hitting any of the bones into the soft spots. What I want to teach now, or review, is Dando. This Dando is the very first one that we learned in 1986. This is not the second degree Kondo form, named after Grandmaster Kong. This was eventually changed, but we continue to do it at Norristown. So it's not a required form, but we keep it in our repertoire. I'll be using a wooden knife, only because someone borrowed my knife and never returned it. Usually all weapons, we use a live blade to make sure we know how the weapon works. To start the form, it's a Chun-bi stance, closed parallel ready stance. We're going to take the back edge of the knife and hide it behind the arm and go on a slight 45-degree angle. From here, looking forward, I am going to step to the right on a 45-degree angle in a front stance with a downward thrust. Now make sure when you're finished the movement, you rule the blade out. You can't go into someone's body and pretend they're butter and coming out. So it has to go in, then out. From here, I step behind my foot together, step to the left, and repeat the same movement. Switch behind my back. This time I'm going to step into a back stance with an upward slice all the way up past the head. Switch hands, repeat on the left-hand side. From here, switch behind, stepping into a front stance, low section thrust into the groin, pulling it out, repeating on the left-hand side. From here, I'm I'm now going to step forward with a downward strike, pulling it out. I'm going to step my right foot over into a back stance, across the eyes, across the throat, X cut into the midsection of the opponent. Stepping forward, switching hands, I'm going to repeat the whole process. Downward strike, pulling out, stepping into a back stance, eyes, throat, X cut into the body. Feet together. I'm going to step my right foot forward, downward strike, switch, step forward with the right, thrust. From here, I'm going to turn around 180 degrees. I've turned 180 degrees, so I actually would be facing this way, but for the camera. From here, we're going to do a hooking kick to the knee, buckling the knee, striking the knee, low section. I step down, come across eyes, throat, into the body. Feet together, hands behind my back, repeat, hooking kick, stepping down, eyes, throat, midsection of the body. Feet together, I'm going to repeat the process we did in the beginning. Downward strike on the left and right side. Upward, in a back stance, and thrust, thrust. Feet together. From here, we're going to do a right front snap kick, stepping down in a back stance, full upper body cut, eyes, my mistake, X, X, eyes, throat, midsection strike. Feet together. Front snap kick in a back stance, upward body cut, X cut, eyes, throat, midsection. Stepping forward with right foot, downward strike, pulling out, stepping forward, thrust. This would be end of the form, so it would be pearl and show facing the way you started with.
Now remember, those two cuts are two different locations.
I cannot find you. I don't know. You're not here yet. Changing it already.
You got that baby.
Dondo.
Good.
501. You up?
Step back, step through, stand. Right now, the slicing part of the blade should be facing up. Step back, block, lift up, stab in the back.